Hello, everyone. Very good evening. I hope I'm audible and visible. Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me? So, we'll be waiting for a quick couple of moments for everyone to join in before we start. I hope we had a great start to the week. I'll be waiting for a couple of moments for everyone to join in and then we start with the session, guys. It's a very important session on para summary and para completion for NMIMS. Hello, everyone. Guys, are you here with me? Can you please post in the comment section so I get to know if you can hear me, see me clearly. We are just about to start with the session. All right, I think it's a good time to start very quickly since we've waited for the questions already, right? So let me just share with you some strategy to solve para summary questions, guys. So I hope everybody can see my screen. So when it comes to para summary and para completion, guys, these are two different types of questions. And in case you might have prepared for CAT, you would know that para summary is another, way of questioning the crux of the passage or gist of the passage or the central idea of the passage. So the para summary question which you get under NMIMS, it's comparatively easier since the paragraph which is given to you is just one paragraph and you need to summarize it. That is, choose the best option out of the 4 or 5 options given to you, right? When it comes to para completion, this is more about completing that one sentence which might be missing from in between the paragraph, or it could be towards the latter part of the paragraph, that is the following paragraph. What sentence should follow the given paragraph which is given to you, right? So, of course, the tactics for solving both the question types are going to be different. When it is about summary, you need to look at the context, what is being shared, and summarize it in one sentence, right? Something that covers the hook and corner, everything which is given in the passage or the paragraph, and at the same time is a blanket to everything, like not covering every minute detail, but still encompassing the entire story. Whereas para completion is more about figuring out the tone of the author, the context which was set, and post that, should the author come up with a contradiction, should he carry on with the same context ahead? This is which is a very important thing to be figured out when it comes to a para completion question. Okay, so let me take you to some strategy for para summary first. I hope my screen is visible to you guys. I just want to make sure that it's visible. So when it comes to summary, as I told you, it is about figuring out the entire gist of the passage. So one thing we do is, of course, we read the paragraph, we comprehend it well, and then we try to understand what is the context which is being set, right? If we understand the paragraph, it's good. It's good to understand the paragraph and not jump to the options right away, right? Once you've done reading the paragraph, try to summarize it on your own first. Try to figure out what could be the context which can be set. What is the one statement, just statement I can give for the entire passage, and then look at the options and try to pick and choose the correct option after going through all the options again. So once you've understood the passage, you must try to pick the subject matter of the passage. When we say subject matter, it's the main context, the protagonist of the passage, the main idea, around which the entire paragraph revolves. So what is that main context, which is the context setter, the subject, right? So look for the important nouns in the passage, connect in them so that you create the right logical relationship between them. Let me underline this for you, right? So this is very important to figure out the important nouns you're using and also creating the right logical relationship between those nouns. That helps you to figure out the correct subject. And with the logical link between the nouns, now you can see the comparison amongst the options, right? Option comparison is a very, very important step because that sets you, on the right track when it comes to the options, sometimes distorting the information. So you're able to eliminate those options well. And eventually, the ones which are covering the entire passage scenario with the right information, you're left with. So you must look for the differences between the options, the point of difference that should be evaluated, and see if the passage has any hint that helps you understand the option, which one is better. Then we go with POE, that is process of elimination. We check out all those options which are setting a wrong context or distorting the information given in the passage. And eventually, when it comes to 2 options which are very close, you should mark the one that maintains the focus. So essence is more important than the less valuable information. 2 options might be equally true, but one will talk about the essence. Essence means the main context which is being set. Okay. While the other one will focus on the insignificant details. So once you're convinced, you can choose the right answer amongst the options which are given to you. Okay. So in order to put this entire strategy in place, we'll be looking at some questions together. We'll try to see the summary, of the passage on our own first. Once we're done summarizing, once we're done reading the paragraph, we summarize it on our own. And then we look for the option and see which of the following options lies closest to the summary we pre-thought of before we could go through the options. Okay. So please have a look at this question. This is one paragraph which has been given to you. And there are going to be some options which I'll be sharing with you once you're done reading the paragraph, and also summarize it on your own first. Once you're done summarizing, then we move to the next part of it. So quickly go through the paragraph which is here and give me your summary in the comment section, guys. Very quickly, so that we can move ahead to the next question. Please have a look at the question. The paragraph is on your screen, guys. Guys, please let me know if you're done reading the paragraph and we could go through it together. Maybe 30 seconds more and then we discuss it. All right. Karthik, great. Good to know that. Please drop in your summary so that we can quickly discuss this here. Please drop in your summary, guys, in case you are done with the question so that we can discuss it. In the meantime, let me try explaining the passage to you so that we can summarize it on our own first. So it says North American walnut sphinx moth caterpillars, Amorpha giglandis, look like easy meals for birds, right? So they seem to be easy meals for the birds. The birds, they want to pick up these caterpillars to have meals, but they have a trick up their sleeves. So basically, birds want to eat caterpillars, but the caterpillars want to escape. Of course, they would not want to be fed by somebody, right? So they have a trick up their sleeves. They produce whistles that sound like bird alarm calls, scaring potential predators away, right? So what they do is when there's some bird or any animal is trying to eat them, bite them, they would produce that sound, you know, which would keep the predators away. That would make the predators, feel like there's some danger. So scaring potential predators away. So at first, scientists suspected birds were simply startled by the loud noise. Earlier, scientists thought that the birds, they were surprised, they were kind of taking it as a warning. So they were startled means they were surprisingly shocked by that loud noise. But a new study suggests a more sophisticated mechanism. What is that? Caterpillar's whistle appears to mimic a bird alarm call, sending avian predators scrambling for cover, right? So it says at first scientists suspected birds were simply startled by the loud noise, but a new study suggests more sophisticated mechanism. What is that mechanism? The caterpillar's whistle appears to mimic a bird alarm call. It's like the whistle which is produced by the caterpillars is more like a alarm. It's like an alarm for the bird, sending avian predators scrambling for cover. So when packed by a bird, the caterpillars whistle by compressing their bodies like an accordion. Accordion is a musical instrument, and forcing air out through specialized holes in their slides. So it's like the entire body has certain holes through which they kind of force the air out, which produces that sound, which keeps these birds away, the predators away from these caterpillars. When pecked by a bird, when a bird comes to peck them, eat them, caterpillars whistle by compressing their bodies like an accordion and forcing air out through the specialized holes in their sides. The whistles are impressively loud. They have been measured over 50 decibels from 5 centimeters away from the caterpillar, considering they are made by a 2-inch long insect. So, the kind of sound they produce through it, it's way too much than their body can actually do it. But this is what is surprisingly funny, that the whistles are impressively loud. They have been measured over 50 decibels. That's a huge unit to measure in the sound, right? From 5 centimeters away from the caterpillar, considering they are made by a 2-inch long insect. Like this much small insect producing such a loud noise, loud sound basically to keep the predators away. Right. So before I show you the options, I could see Karthik's comment here. He says it's about alarm mechanism that American caterpillars use to averse from predators, like to keep the predators away. Now, Karthik, I'll show you the options. You're going to pick the closest option as per your summary. Okay. Please have a look at these 4 options which are given here. Okay. Choose the one that covers the entire passage very profoundly rather than just covering some section of it. Take quick 30 seconds, then we choose it together. I want the answers in the chat box, guys. I've explained the passage to you, the paragraph to you. Please summarize it for me very quickly. All right. Yeah. Karthik, so I got an option from you. Let's have a look at the options which are stated here. First one says North American walnut swings. North American walnut swings moth caterpillars will whistle periodically to ward off predators' birds. They have a specialized vocal tract that helps them whistle. Okay. North American walnut swings moth caterpillars can whistle very loudly. Loudness of the whistles is shocking as they're very small insects. Then caterpillars in a case. So you can see vertical scanning helps us in figuring out which one option is correct. Like till caterpillars, we have all the three options. In fact, all the four options covering the right thing, the same thing. North American walnut swings moth caterpillars can whistle, will whistle. In a case of acoustic deception, produce whistles that mimic bird alarm calls to defend themselves. And fourth one says moth caterpillars, in a case of deception camouflage, produce whistles that mimic bird calls to defend themselves. So, what is the difference between C and D? First of all, that's a very important question. Tell me, how did you figure out that it should be third over the fourth option? Why not fourth? Why aren't we going for the fourth option, guys? So, what is the major difference between third and fourth? The third option says North American walnut swings moth caterpillars in a case of acoustic deception. Acoustic deception because they're trying to, camouflage themselves in a certain manner, but they're trying to deceive the predators. Produce whistles that mimic bird alarm calls to defend themselves. And fourth says, in a case of deception and camouflage, produce whistles that mimic bird alarm calls to defend themselves. So it's not just camouflaging. They're not changing their pattern or something as per the bird's requirement, right? They do it, they deceive the predators by changing their own, the creating that sound. So there's no camouflaging like a grasshopper. It is more about just deceiving them without changing their forms. So there's no camouflaging as such, it's just the deception. So which also means that we're not including any option which has any alien elements which is not there in the passage or the paragraph. Okay, so option 3 is better than option number 4 because 4 has some alien elements which have to be kept away, when you are choosing the right summary option. Okay, let's move to the next question. Quickly have a look at this question, guys. Socrates and Bacon, and then we discuss it over quickly. Perfect. Karthik, please help me with your summary so that we can discuss it. Can we have the quick summary, Karthik? Yeah, it's about proving and disapproving of scientific theories about using methodologies developed by Socrates and Bacon. Okay, all right. So let's have a look at the question together. Uh, It says both Socrates and Bacon were very good at using useful questions, right? At asking useful questions. So they're talking about two philosophers, Socrates and Bacon. You might be knowing they're good writers. They were good philosophers, like well-known, well-renowned philosophers. Socrates and Bacon were very good at asking useful questions. When they're talking about useful questions, about the context, you know, it's like picking up the right exact question which is required at that moment. In fact, Socrates is largely credited with coming up with a way of asking questions that is called Socrates method. So, Socratic method, which itself is at the core of the scientific method popularized by Bacon. So there's some kind of similarity between Socrates and Bacon's way of asking questions, and Socrates' way of asking questions was called Socratic method, which is also core of the scientific method which was popularized by Bacon. Socratic method disapproves arguments by finding exceptions to them. So it's like challenging a given story, a given argument by finding some corner cases, some exceptions, and can therefore lead your opponent to a point where they admit something that contradicts their original position. So when you find some exceptional cases, you kind of contradict the entire argument. You know, so you finding some some exceptions to the argument given that leads to negating the argument altogether. Whereas talking about Bacon, he stressed it was as important to disapprove a theory as it was to prove one. So as per Bacon, if it is important to prove a theory to be true, it is equally important to prove it that it's not true. Okay, so for him, proving a theory to be true is equally important as negating it. That is what it says. Right? So, in common with Socrates, Bacon stressed it was as important to disapprove a theory as it was to prove one, and real world observation experimentation were key to achieving both aims. So, best way is to validate it by experimentation. Bacon also saw science as a collaborative affair with scientists working together, challenging each other. Right? So, he also saw science as a collaborative affair. That science means logic, through which they could collaborate with scientists working together, challenging each other. Right? So we have the entire paragraph in front of us. Karthik shared the summary with us. What does the summary say? It says it's about proving and disapproving of scientific theories using methods developed by Socrates and Bacon. Is it also about disapproving a theory? Of course, contradicting a theory is fine. But disapproving, let's have a look at the options and tell me which of the options do you think summarizes the best. Why does it summarize the best comes later, but let's try to summarize it quickly. Yes. Option number C, Karthik. So both Socrates and Bacon advocated clever questioning of the opponents to disprove their arguments and theories. They were advocating clever questioning is okay. To disapprove their arguments, we do not know. Both advocated challenging arguments and theories of observation experimentation, advocated confirming arguments and theories of finding exceptions, or both advocated examining arguments and theories from both sides to prove them. So, again, try to figure out which one, challenges the argument, which one gives us the right answer and why. Something that covers every hook and corner of it. If you're going for option number C, why C? Right? So if you look at C, it says both Socrates and advocated confirming arguments and theories by finding exceptions. Are they both finding exceptions? We're talking about Socrates finding an exception, but what does Bacon do? He tries to validate and then disapprove a theory, not by finding exceptions to it, right? So if I look at option number 4, it says Socrates and Bacon advocated examining arguments and theories from both sides to prove them. The idea is to try to examine the arguments, right? So don't you think D option is the correct one, Karthik, rather than going for C or B? B, Bombay, is about challenging arguments. So again, you are trying to challenge as per Bacon. Socrates does not challenge. He finds exceptions, right? Socrates and Bacon, both of them try to examine the argument. So that is the correct option we're going for. Okay. Answer is D, Delhi, rather than going for B, Bombay, or C, Calcutta. Are we getting it? Yeah. So it has to be D, Delhi. Okay. Have a look at this one, please. And we're not waiting a lot of, wasting and in fact waiting for this question a lot. I'm just giving you 1 quick minute. Go through it. Another minute, you write down the summary. Third minute, we examine the question. Fourth, we look at the options and we're done. So just 4 to 5 minutes, we complete the entire question. Quickly, guys, I do not want to wait a lot with the questions. We have to cover para completion as well today itself. All right. Karthik, I'm expecting a summary very quickly. Could you please help me with the summary? In the meantime, let me try explaining to you so that we do not have a lot of time just invested in reading. A fundamental property of language is that it is slippery and messy and more liquid than solid. What does it mean that the language is more liquid than solid? It can be molded as per our requirement, right? We can change the language as per the culture. A gelatinous mass that changes shape to fit as per our context. As Winston would remind us, usage has no sharp boundary. Even in different towns, in different cities, in different countries, you find that the same language, as we call English or Hindi, it also changes its tone, the words we are using, sometimes the reference point itself altogether changes. So there are no sharp boundaries to it. Oftentimes, the only way to determine the meaning of a word is to examine how it is used. So this insight is often described as a meaning is use doctrine. There are differences between the meaning is use doctrine and a dictionary first theory of meaning. So dictionary's careful fixing of words to definitions like butterflies pinned under glass can suggest that this is how language works. The definitions can seem to ensure and fix the meaning of the words just as the gold standard can back a country's currency. So, what does it mean? Dictionaries' careful fixing of words to definitions like butterflies pinned under glass can suggest this is how language works. So, what we're trying is, as per Winston, we keep on twisting the meanings of the words. The words change, right? The meaning in use changes. So, if we try to fixate the dictionary words, it would be similar to fixating a butterfly under the glass, which cannot move then, right? To ensure and fix the meanings of the words, just as gold standard can back a country's currency. It's like standardizing your currency. What Winston found in the circulation of ordinary language, however, was a free floating currency of meaning. Language is like a free floating currency, which changes its meaning as per the context, as per the need. The value of each word rises out of the exchange, and as per we want ourselves to exchange the meaning, we keep on twisting the meanings of the words. Value of each word rises out of the exchange. The lexicographer, language writing lexicographer, abstracts a meaning from that exchange, which is then set within the conventions of the dictionary definition, which is then, as per the lexicographer, it says the meaning of that particular exchange is fixed by the dictionary itself then. Excuse me, guys. So the change in the words usage, in the language usage, it's like a floating currency, free floating currency of meaning, and value of each word arises out of the exchange. How valuable is a word? That depends on the exchange. And lexicographer abstracts a meaning. He kind of abstracts a meaning from that exchange. He tries of which is then set within the conventions of the dictionary definition. So howsoever we need it conventionally as per our convenience, we fix the meaning of that word in the dictionary. And you must have seen many a times, because a word is being so often used, that then it gets registered in dictionary. So it's as per our contextual meaning, the language changes without any boundaries. Okay, have a look at the options very quickly, because I do not want to miss on the para-completion part. Arya Gupta, welcome to the session. Glad to have your summary. Karthik says meaning of word can be seen in two ways. One is dictionary based and the other is contextual meaning. Okay. How do we refer to Winston's reference here? Can we also add to that point, Karthik? Arya says in economic terminologies, explaining the meaning of a word using a dictionary is a very rigid concept as compared to how it is actually used in context of a sentence, which is more flexible. Okay. So economic terminologies, as we refer to economic terminologies being used, explaining the meaning of a word using a dictionary is a very rigid concept, as in it keeps on changing, evolving as per the different cultures, as compared to how it is actually used in context of a sentence, which is more flexible, right, Ara? So now can you guys look at the options and try figuring out the right option out of these four options which are given here? Can we please try that? Quick 30 seconds, guys. You have the summary with you. You have the summary options in front of you. You just have to match as per your understanding. Karthik, okay. Meaning of words in dictionaries is clear, fixed, and less dangerous and ambiguous than the meaning that arises when words are exchanged between people. He is not talking about how dangerous can the usage of word be, but he's talking about words being used as a currency, free floating currency for exchange. Look at the options and tell me which one captures that essence. Yes, Arya, that's the correct one. He's talking about The words which are captured in dictionary are the static usage that actually defines the usage of the word. But the same language, when it is spoken, it keeps on evolving, changing without any specifically defined boundaries. That's why meaning is dynamic. Definitions which are registered in the dictionary are static. So, meaning and use theory helps us to understand the definition of the words are culled from the meaning in exchange and use, and not vice versa. That is, the contextual meaning of the words, it changes, but the real meaning of the word, which is fixated as per the definition in the dictionary, that remains the same. So that is being captured in option number C. C, Calcutta is the correct answer. Are we all thorough on this? Any doubts in the question, guys? Okay, I would want to cover more questions, but let's cover para completion questions now. So, in para completion question, the first and the foremost thing is to understand the tone of the author. Guys, we're done with para summary. Now we're on to the second part of the session we have today, that is para completion. Para completion is more about completing that last part of the paragraph which is left incomplete for you to fill. It could also be somewhere in the mid of the paragraph where one of the sentences is missing. You're supposed to fill in the blank. And this fill in the blank is not one word or couple of words or a phrase. It's the entire sentence you need to fill, right? For example, if I show you the options, I'll just show you, right? So there's a paragraph, there's a context which is being set, and we are supposed to choose the best option which is given to us as per the question, which completes the paragraph just like the options which are given here, and pulls in the context of the sentence, which from where the sentence is missing, also sets in the context for the next paragraph or what should follow. It could also be a conclusion which is being tried to drawn here. So please have a look at the paragraph first, try to look at the tonality and see what can be hypothetically fixated as the last sentence of the paragraph. First you try it on your own, then I'm going to help you out with the options. Okay, Karthik, Karya, and everyone who's here with me, please have a look at the question. It's a para completion question. The last sentence of the paragraph is missing for you. Please try to hypothesize on your own what could be the last sentence of the paragraph here. Okay. Are we done with the question, guys? Can I show you the options? Yeah, absolutely, Karthik. Please have a look at the options. Can we please discuss? Yeah. So I see you have already the options in place. So the question says most people have noticed that vision can play tricks. Okay, what we see can be very, perceptually based on different people. A straight stick submerged in water looks bent, though it is not. Railroad tracks seem to converge in the distance, but they're not. And a page of English language print reflected in a mirror cannot be read from left to right. You find it very opposite to what you read, though in all other circumstances it can. So each of these phenomena is misleading in some way, right? What are we talking about? We're talking about some, uh, you know, differences we get to see every time we try to relate. There's something which is opposite, which is emerging. And if you look at the options, so A says, but does seeing a straight stick out of water provide a good reason for thinking that? It's not just about water or the stick, it's about everything. How does one know that the wheels on the train do not converge at that point also? Thus, the difficulty cannot be resolved by appealing to input and the other senses. Anyone who believes that the stick is bent, that the railroad converges, and so on, is mistaken about the how the world really is. So it's like each of these phenomena is misleading in some way. The last sentence says each of the phenomena is misleading in some way. That means what we think is actually contradictory to what the reality is, right? So the last sentence we're looking for is more like a conclusion, not the summary, but opinion of the author which is being drawn. So this opinion cannot be based on just one or two instances. It should cover the entire thing. Since it says each of these phenomena. So the fourth option, it covers stick is bent, railroad tracks converge, and so on. This term, this phrase, so on, shows that we're trying to reflect on all the other options which have been taken as examples. All of them are just reiterating the fact that the entire theory is mistaken. What we think is opposite to what the reality is going to be. So option number 4 is the correct answer. You guys rightly picked up the correct answer choice. Let's have a look at another question and then we discuss it. Figure out the last sentence of the paragraph, which can be the opinion of the author, which could be the conclusion. Look at it. Let's reflect on. Once you have gone through the question, I'll show you the options. Sure, I'll take you to the options area. Please have a look at the options. Guys, be quick if you could discuss the question very quickly. We'll try to discuss one more if the time permits. Yes. So if you're done, we can quickly discuss it over. Answer is option number 2 for this, guys. Arya, Omkar, and Karthik. Let me show you the question again. It says, in accordance with the goal that he assigned to philosophy, Epicure's teaching had a dogmatic character. Dogmatic means very dominant in substance, if not in form. Right? In substance, as in the detailing, if not in the skeleton. He called the treatise diaglosmos, it's like dialogismoi or conversations, right? So treaties as conversations, since the utility of the doctrines lay in their application, he summarized them in stoicae or elementary prepositions to be memorized. So like elementary propositions means whatever he was proposing to be memorized. In this respect, Epicurus was the inventor of a catechetical method. The number of works produced by Epicurus and his disciples reveals an impressive theoretical activity. But no less important was the practical action in lying by the virtues taught by him and in honoring the obligations of reciprocal help in the name of friendship. So, a little tough paragraph to understand for sure, right? But again, as I told you, it is a para completion question. You need to understand the tonality of the author and see if he is going towards the conclusion side or is he giving some contradiction, right? So number of works produced by Epicurus and disciples reveals an impressive theoretical activity. It's really important that the author seems to be impressed by the theoretical activity, but no less important was the practical action. So not just the theory, but practical implication of it was also equally important in living by the virtues taught by him and honoring obligations of reciprocal help in the name of friendship. So now if I look at the options, in 306 BCE, Epicurus established his schools at Athens in his garden, from which it came to be known as the garden. So this is just one fact about Epicurus' schooling, how he established a school. Second says, in these endeavors, in these efforts, continuous assistance was rendered by Epicurus himself, who even when old and ill was occupied in writing letters of admonishment, guidance, comfort, everywhere announcing his gospel of peace. So one side we talk about theoretical implication, other side we talk about its practical implication. And here the paragraph which has been stated here, the last line states, like the penultimate sentence which is given here, but no less important was the practical action in living by the virtues taught by him. Right? So this sentence which says virtues taught by him, practical action, this is being carried forward in option number 2. In these endeavors, which endeavors? Wherein he was trying to teach those virtues, assistance was rendered by Epicurus himself. He himself assisted that. He was, honoring the obligations of reciprocal himself in the name of friendship. Epicurus himself, who even when old and ill, though he was old, though he was ill, he was still acting like a mentor, was occupied in writing letters of admonishment, guidance, comfort, everywhere announcing his gospel of peace and under the name of pleasure, inviting to love. So everywhere he was preaching how you can still, feel comfort, be loved, love around you rather than just, sitting around thinking I'm old and ill. He was still preaching as a mentor. Several fundamental concepts characterize the philosophy of Epicurus, very, very vague. If you look at option number 2, it kind of takes the context which is being set by the penultimate sentence. No less important was the practical action. Virtues taught by him. Even though he was old and ill, he was still writing letters, preaching peace and the letters of love to everyone and anyone around him. Fourth option says popular parlance, Epicureanism thus means devotion to pleasure, comfort. It's not just what Epicureanism refers to, it's about what Epicurean himself did. So option 2 is the best option, guys. rather than looking for the other options. I hope this was clear. Any doubts in this question, Arya, Omkar, Karthik, or anybody who just joined us? Okay, so para completion, not a very tough topic again. You just have to look at the tone. You just have to look at the context which is being set in the last sentence and then see how we can complete the last sentence which is missing. All right, Arya, thank you so much for joining in. Everybody, guys, have a great night. I'll be stopping in here. And when we meet next, we can probably discuss some of the questions you have as doubts, or maybe there's a fresh topic we'll be coming up with. Thank you so much and have a great night. Good night, guys. Thank you so much for joining in.